episode 3, where we're going to talk about the mind-body connection. One of the primary illnesses that reflects the mind-body connection is with post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. That is because when a person is experiencing PTSD, they are essentially reliving the trauma that's stored in the body at an inappropriate time. In order to understand more this correlation from a therapeutic point of view, we'll turn to Karisa Kloscak. What is the difference between generalized anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder?
I'm such a nerd. Peter Levine would say it's your heart rate. Because to go into freeze, it requires a certain system, I could say this better, I'm sure, system to fire off in your body. So if you can regulate your heart rate and keep things at a steady, even pace, that's great. And that usually means you're not going to hit that PTSD threshold. I guess that would be the main difference is your nervous system and how it's firing off and what it's doing. And, certain people are going to handle a trauma in a different way. They may not get PTSD from the same exact event. So it's really the level of trauma and you as a person and how your resiliency.
What comes first, thought or feeling?
It can be thought, feeling, behavior. So I'm going to have the thought and then I'm going to get the feeling in my body. But people who have been traumatized, it gets reversed. So it's the feeling fires off in my body and then the thought goes. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to die, I'm not okay. But it could be a small thing. So my reaction doesn't fit the situation anymore. And I think that's the essence of PTSD. I'm still living in that trauma over and over again. And that's a survival response. It's a good thing that's happening in your body. It's very uncomfortable to deal with, though. So therapeutically, what we do in that exact situation is, it's called the top-down method or a bottom-up method. So top-down is going to be how we manage the thoughts, the really disruptive thoughts. So we can use DBT, CBT, all of those wonderful things to help kind of rewire your neural pathways in your brain. And it takes a lot of work to do that. And then the bottom-up types of therapy are going to be somatic experiencing and EMDR to help your nervous system start to regulate again. So it's, again, that balancing act of both at the same time. And it's very difficult and it takes a long time. If you're dealing with trauma in your family system, then that's gone on for, let's say, 18 years that you were in your family and in that home. It took you 18 years to develop those neural pathways in the way that you're thinking. So it's going to take a lot of time to undo that and replace it with something positive, especially when your body's fighting against you. EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So really what it's doing is it's like REM sleep, so rapid eye movement. At night, your eyes are moving back and forth really rapidly so that you can kind of reprocess your day, if you want to think about it that way. In a traumatic situation, the nervous system the trauma is imprinted in the nervous system and in your brain. So it freezes the material and then it doesn't allow your brain to sort it. So if you think of your brain in like filing cabinets, then it's not putting the information where it needs to be put. And then it's going to keep coming up at weird times, or all these things are going to be connected to it. So by using EMDR, we get the rapid eye movement going, and it allows new material or old material to resurface and then be sorted and put back in the place that it needs to be, so that it's integrated. And if something reminds you of it, okay, you might have a reaction, but it's not going to be to that same extent. If you think about animals, this is my silly example that I usually use, but my dog Samson, he doesn't like people very much like his owner, but he will see people, he'll get really angry, he's going to start to bark, he's afraid, so he'll do that. And then if I get him away from that situation, one of the first things he's going to do after a person he doesn't like, he's gonna shake it off. You'll see dogs shake their bodies like that. They're doing it because it's a discharge. It's the same idea with people. We have these big brains that get in the way, but it's the same idea. We're primal, just like animals. We are animals. So if we experience something traumatic, so I was attacked by a dog on my left side, and I froze completely. I was a 5-year-old and I froze. So my arm wanted to go like this. I wanted to save myself and I wasn't able because this was a big dog and I was tiny. So my arms were just flailing and, they didn't get to do that. I was kind of knocked to the ground. But in the hospital, when I started to come out of the freeze, my arms were just flailing. I read the report on this recently, actually. My arms were just going and going and going. And no one ever really knew what that was around me, but now I know. That was my survival response. That was me trying to get away from that situation. So somatic experiencing is about allowing your body to do that, about letting if you tune into yourself, it will come up again. It's been waiting for you. There's a healing vortex that will help you in those situations if you can tune in and let your body do what it needs to do. Yeah, it's a phenomenal approach to treatment if people can get on board, and it does feel silly, I will say that. A lot of the somatic experiencing recovery, you feel goofy and you've got to let your body do what it wants to do. And in our society that's shut down so often, it's painful for me to see. But it's always, be here at this time, do this way, and it's a constant scheduled thing, but that's not how life is. That's not, in my opinion, what we're here to do. That's not living. So it's really just following those responses and living again.
If you or someone you love is struggling with a mental illness or addiction, don't give up. There is life beyond illness, and a part of you just waiting to awaken back to life. If there's a topic you'd like us to make a video on, please leave it in the comments below. And don't forget to hit subscribe. And as always, thank you.